Same as though it was just yesterday or even a few hours ago, we were saying Happy New Year. Can you believe it's already the 7th of January? Everything is moving very fast, and we cannot afford to slow down or to be left behind. Some say it's not rocket science that if something happens annually and increases in intensity such that it brings about destruction of property, getting to millions and billions of naira, and impacts negatively on lives to the extent that lives are lost, everyone should pay attention. And we should not wait every time, every year, until it starts to stare us in the face and cause damage. And then these two things are linked. On the other hand, it's the government of the day that will coordinate those who will bring about the best positive impact, those who will bring about innovation, those who will be focused and hands-on and do something that people remember them for many, many years to come. I'm talking about flooding and politics. Expectations for 2023 is continuing today on Weekend Deal. Earlier, I was just going over all your interesting messages you sent us last week. Do that again today. Our program is interactive and we would love, as always, to read from you. My name is Thelma Obaze. When we're discussing issues as vital and as critical to our nation's development as flooding and politics, we'd like Francis to set the tone for our conversation. He does that as usual.
While the beginning of every year comes with celebration and stock taking on successes and challenges made in the previous year, it is also a time for renewed hopes and expectations. A time to set goals, resolution, and expect to meet them by the end of the year. Nigerians are expecting a lot from the political class as the 2023 election gradually draws closer.
My expectation is the prayer for our nation. Our national prayer, second verse, O God of creation, direct our noble cause. Regardless of party, there is a pursuit for the preservation of the nobility of who we are as a patriot nation of Nigerians, above tribe, above gender agendas, above religious factionalism, above infighting and all manner of anti-party crisis representations due to pursuits of personal deviant intentions which work against what collectively in our prayer we call our noble cause.
We have politicians who play politics, who set very high expectations for themselves just for personal aggrandizement. They want to assume that office, they want to assume new offices, and they want to be returned. They should moderate their ambition. The country shouldn't be suffering because of the ambition of just a group of individuals. So INEC owes Nigerians the obligation to ensure that everybody responds to its rules. Our politicians should ensure that they also play by the rules. Politically, those are my expectations.
With the campaigns of the various political parties in top gear, how have they fared thus far? Have the campaigns been issue-based?
So far, I think one or two parties, few parties have been issue-based, talking about the main things that ail us as a nation. For me, I would advise Nigerians, do not vote on the basis of religion. Do not vote on the basis of tribe. He's my brother, he's my sister, he's from our place. Do not vote on the basis of nepotism, clannishness. Let us vote because we have somebody who has the ability to solve a teaching problem.
I don't know that anywhere in the world anyone will say they are satisfied with the nature and campaign of any political process. Not the Americans, not the Brazilians, nobody, not even the Rwandans in Africa. There are still people that will always, I cannot say, oh, I'm satisfied. To say I'm satisfied means it's a 100%, 360-degree, all-round, brilliantly coordinated, intentionally directed, equitable political process. No way. It's nothing like that, and it's not going to be for a while. Regrettably, this is the reality.
Nigeria's flooding is mainly human-induced, with current poor town planning practices and inadequate or non-existent environmental infrastructure contributing to the issue. What are the expectations from Nigerians as it concerns flooding in 2023?
Flooding has embarrassed this country. I know flooding, people can argue that flooding happens everywhere. But you see, the response people give to flooding varies from place to place. Even in Britain floods. But the approach to it matters. The approach is different. France, the whole of Europe, Belgium is a country that sits on water. But they manage it. You build with water, you don't build against water.
Flood in its environmental presentation is a failure of people as leaders and as community representatives to care for, manage, and properly direct the development and the preservation of their own immediate environment. I have in Abuja, I have a 3 hectarage with the waterway going through. I have been very particular about developing and preserving the waterway, not building into it to block the flow. 8 years ago, that's how come I'm the environmental ambassador of the FCT. I converted a swamp next door to my residence into what is now a Google located garden on the green map of Nigeria. I gave all my trees names, and I taught people in the environment how to love the environment. Once we were able to create a waterway for movement, it was no longer a swamp.
One of the major causes of flooding is the indiscriminate disposal of waste. And considering the volume of waste being generated and the need to use waste as a resource to grow the economy and generate employment along the waste value chain, there is need for reorientation on waste management.
What government should do is create more awareness on how to manage waste, because waste is something you can manage more efficiently at the homestead. Don't allow it to get to the street. There should be awareness on recycling. Should be awareness on composting. And then there should be awareness on the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. So our hope for 2023 is that there will be a new awakening for all of us, so that we can, from the homestead, minimize the waste we generate.
The responsibility of nation building is not for government alone. All hands must be on deck towards making Nigeria greater and better in 2023. Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on expectations for 2023.
Hopefully we will garner wealth, but we have to be proactive. It does seem as though we need to start to plan ahead, and one such area is going to be our environment. Let's meet and greet our guests, and I will tell you what Oyin has ready for us. Air Vice Marshal Akugbe Yamu is a renowned climate change expert, a researcher, and an author of over 400 articles on the environment.
Thank you very much.
We can't wait to tap into your vast, knowledge and experience. But first, Owen's been doing some research and she wants to share with us what she's found. Okay. Some environmentalists are also saying that they're not being considered or consulted when urban areas are being built. How far true is that? Owen, what else?
The devastating floods that ravaged most states in Nigeria in the just concluded year swept away farms. A huge number of people and properties were wrecked. From the federal government data, the 2022 floods displaced over 1.4 million people and killed over 603 persons and injured more than 2,400 people. Many victims across the nation are still counting their losses. It is imperative to be proactive in the new year to avert the seasonal disaster.
We should be able to understand what actually happened. If there is a river cutting across Lokoja down to southern Nigeria to Niger Delta, it presupposes that it should also be a river that you can travel on. Yes, people should use boats to get to those places. Why is it not happening? So if there is something wrong somewhere that we should look at. If the river were as wide and deep as it's supposed to be, there wouldn't be this excesses. And what of those that go to sand-filled wetlands and go to very close to rivers, major rivers, to build houses? If you're on Lokoja Bridge, you see people building houses at the bank of River Niger. So who granted such permissions in a state capital to build homes on those places, endangering human lives and even creating more problems?
Excess water should be a blessing to us as a nation, and farmers in particular. The water can be stored and used for dry season farming.
That water will need to be impounded, as in it needs to be dammed somewhere within the Nigerian territory. Once it is released, if there's another dam downstream, that dam will also hold the excess water and now release that in bits. The River Basin Development Authorities, they need to be empowered. If you look at their enabling acts, they have so much functions, but are they delivering on these enabling acts?
There shouldn't be any reason why water is released into River Niger, and before you know it, Lokoja, Bayelsa, everywhere is flooded. It means there is something wrong with the river that has made it lose that capacity to carry the water that originally it should have carried. Because what the dam did was just to block the water, the same water that the river would have carried. So when they release the water, naturally the river should be able to carry it. Then what happened? Our scientists should look into this and bring us the solutions. How and apportion roles to the various tiers of government. Excess water, recycle water. Even in developed countries, water from sewage tanks are recycled and people are made to be portable.
Improper waste disposal as against management is a major cause of flooding, especially in the urban areas.
If you see waste as obstacle, it becomes an obstacle. If you see waste as wealth, it becomes wealth for you. So we must find a way of recycling waste and making money from it. If we don't find use for the waste, it will continue to be a challenging problem.
This year we should work on better and efficient waste management and practices. Create the awareness, let people know that somehow they have a very, very important role to play with waste management. Government agencies that are a creation of laws, you have the NIMET, you have the NEMA, you have the River Basin Development Authorities, you have the Hydrological Services Agency, and you have Nestria. This year, there should be much more synergy.
Urban development planning ought to be a concerted effort of sister agencies, and massive tree planting projects could be encouraged across board.
Now, one of the problems we have with our urban areas is that our urban areas are planned by architects, engineers, and all. But ecologists and environmentalists had little input in planning of our urban areas. And this is we are reaping the consequences. So now it is not too late to remedy.
With regard to our environment in the new year, experts advocate that we think globally but act locally. We should strike a balance as everyone has a role to play.
Everyone has a role to play. We learn, but you have to know your role to play well, don't you? How are you keeping your waist? But all this and more, we have an expert in the house. Air Vice Marshal Akugbe Iyamo is a renowned researcher and author and a climate change expert. And he's just not done writing. He wants to talk and share with us today. When we talk about flood in Nigeria, first of all, what causes this annual flooding? We heard about people died, millions of property lost, people injured, millions of people.
Yes, you know, flooding is always excess water that has gone out of its own confine. Simple definition. Now, it has always been there with us. But in the last 3 decades or so, you have had climate change contributing. What is climate change? The inability of the climate to regulate itself. What is that? You are going to have temperature and water. So you have so much water going to the atmosphere. Now, anytime you have temperature rise, what do you have? You have almost 10% of water going into the atmosphere. So what do you have in Nigeria? Is in the southern hemisphere, substantially in the southern hemisphere. What do you have in the southern hemisphere? You have almost 66% of water and just less than 40% of land. And you have excessive evaporation. And here, this water always comes down. There's flooding anywhere, but the difference between what you are doing and everything is the preparation. Preparation, the stress tests.
Obviously, we're prepared this year. I can see that.
Well,
we're prepared.
Yeah, well, preparation is a relative thing, and it's reflective of efforts. Highly reflective of effort. If you see, managing flooding is complex, very complex. Now, if we had the 2012 and 2022 flooding, what we would have expected to have seen is stress tests. There are 8 tools for managing flooding. You know, see, your ability to control the pace of flooding now is affecting the financial system. It's material and systemic. It is material because at that point in time, the whole economy was shut down substantially. You have Lokoja almost shut down. The systemic effort is now that when the flooding left, now we are now at the flood stage, that is after the flooding and receded. What stress test do you do?
What ought we to do, or what ought to
stress
have done?
test means that you build up a future scenario and see how the entities can respond within that particular. If given that scenario, how would these entities respond? Then you have to do structural reform. You have to build capacity and capabilities. Do you understand? Then you have to also get information. Information is very, very important. Look, I tell you.
When you say capabilities and abilities, what are you talking about? Structures, human beings?
Structures and human beings. Let me tell you, the last year, there was flooding in Nicaragua. The sea rose in 10 minutes, 1 meter. 1 meter. Now, what are you doing? It's a concourse of factors to be able to deal with flooding. Now, the UN is giving you all the support. All the support. During the COP27, the climate expert, Frederick Otto of the Imperial College, told you that, look, this year's flooding is going to be aggravated by more than 20%. We're already seeing it.
Last year or this year?
This year flooding, 2023 flooding, yes.
So we have been forewarned.
We have been forewarned. So what solution are you front-loading?
Can you tell us? What plans are being put in place? We do hear that we're ready. Nigeria is ready.
Ready?
We've done our stress test, haven't we?
Where did you do it?
I thought you would share that with us. Were you not a part of the team?
No. What I'm saying is that there are pragmatic way of dealing with flooding. Now, there should have been a stress test on Lokoja, stress test on Anambra State, and stress test on Jigawa. So you are supposed to learn from 2012 and 2022 flooding and build it in. Okay, if we have the same scenario again, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? The most important thing...
But is it likely, from what you just told us about the proactive, the information is already out?
Yes.
Are we likely to have something similar to what happened last year? Or is it going to be easy peasy for us this year?
The indications are there. The indications are there that the flooding this year is likely to be very heavy. Whether it will get to the stage of this year, that depends on a lot of factors. Now, you see, you look at it. There's already temperature rise in Europe now. The rains have started in America, and it is coming down. That is the northern hemisphere, and it is coming down now to the southern hemisphere. As I speak to you now, Mozambique has already placed a flood alert. Southern Mozambique has already placed a flood alert. The same thing is being done in South Africa.
But so we must thank you for coming to reawaken and remind us of what we must do. But tell us, before we come to what we must do, we'll take that later. What is the role of refuse? We heard one of the environmentalists say, he said two key things, that when urban centers are being built, oftentimes they are not consulted. He also said it's the way you regard wealth, that wealth will behave. If you call it wealth, it will be wealth for you. But if you call it waste, you will treat it as such, and it have a negative impact on us as a people. Tell us, how do we handle that?
There's nothing like waste anymore. It's waste management. You see, every day here we talk about youth unemployment and whatever. I laugh. We are sitting by the ocean and we decide to be washing our hands and our face with spiritual. There is so much money worth in this country. I have a book on it. That's why look at it here. Sorry, let's just excuse me. Let me bring it out. This is riches in the rubbish.
Interesting.
Riches in the rubbish.
So this is waste that is wealth.
Yes, that's why it's Christian. Riches in the rubbish. It chronicles everything you have to do. You'd have to do.
And we see Forex here. We know many young people like Forex. It goes beyond Naira. You get loads of foreign currency.
Yes.
But you need to work hard. Tell us how.
You see, West now from the value addition, like I told you, see, what has happened to waste management in Nigeria is that we have left it to the informal sector.
Are they handling it well?
How would they handle it well? Because when you leave it to the informal sector, you have deprived the job creation. You have deprived the country the taxes that should have been coming out of the. You have also deprived the country the foreign exchange. Look, the total economy of the world is 82 trillion, and West Africa just have a paltry 3.5 trillion. And by research that $1 trillion US can be added to the West Africa economy through waste management. With 42 million tons of waste generated in Nigeria, one ton of waste will give you 1 kilowatt of electricity. Sorry, 1 megawatt of electricity. Yes, and almost 10 jobs. You have 774 local government. Develop those areas. Just develop those areas, which is what is done in the US, it's done in Canada, it is done in Australia, it is done everywhere. They develop the hinterland and build it up and say, look, the youth should be there. So whatever you are coming to look for in the city is there. So you manage this way. I tell you, Mauritius, this sugar cane, they use it to generate electricity, which contribute up to 25% to their GDP. Mauritius in Africa.
It's a good thing that you have mentioned this. I want to even look at one other area. When you travel abroad and you're bringing out your refuse, you find that you don't put everything in one bin. There's the one for recycling, there's the normal one, you could like that. But in Nigeria, we just put everything. In fact, the way we remove waste from our homes, I look at them, they're practically carrying the refuse in their hand to just throw it inside the bin. How the way we package it from the home to the bin, oughtn't it to even make a difference in how it should be handled?
Essentially, see, everything needs to be re-examined. Everything needs to be re-examined. You see, we cannot continue to go in a linear direction. It's multidimensional now. Multidimensional. You have to look at waste. You have to look at open defecation. These are all money ventures. These are all money ventures. Now, the off-takers, the people producing this waste now, we're talking about PET bottles, we're talking about everything. What is the engagement with them? What is the policy direction? What is if you do it outside here, you pay for it. You pay for it substantially. So that will be a deterrent. Tomorrow you will not try it.
When you throw things out of your vehicle.
When you throw things out of your vehicle, Russia have said that waste is not definitive, so they don't have a name for waste. The US that produces everything have circular economy 100%.
Okay, bring us home.
Yes.
Bring us home. Now the informal sector is handling waste.
Yes.
And we say it can be done better. What level of innovation should we bring to the table? How do we get our young people to be interested? We're already telling them, go do farming. And they're still gathering their thoughts. Oh, will I get my capital? How do I get started my land? Now we're saying, go into waste. We know for a truth that many people don't like to handle dirt. How attractive can we make the games so that many people will latch on?
We just call it waste. It doesn't mean it's dirty. The money is there. There's a relationship between energy, poverty, and job creation. It's a matrix. The matrix. This matrix, they all interact to substantially support each other. If you want to get the youth to be interested, first of all, build them, for a start, build them into a cooperative society. Fund it. You see,
at the local government level?
At the local government level, at the subnational level now. Let's not call it local. If you call it local government, it looks very, very
small town.
It's small town.
And it's a big deal.
At the subnational level, get the mega cities that are involved and create pilot programs. Create pilot program in River, create pilot program in Lagos, create pilot program in Ibadan, create one in FCT here.
But what has limited you from doing something like that? Is it the capital? What has limited you and people of your ilk from doing that? Are we saying government must do everything? What can you do? How can you add value?
Yes. See, what we can only do this and not this. You understand what I'm saying? You see, everything, waste management is capital intensive.
Okay.
But when you invest in it, it has a value chain. Every ring of the value chain is money. Is a money spinner. If you live in Abuja around Apo, go there. As I speak to you now, about 3 trailer loads are being loaded to take this waste to take this waste out to go and refine it. This is very, very good money, tax free. The people are just taking it like that.
And we can't take it like that. We
No,
need
we
to
can't
take it
like
more
that.
seriously.
There's a
Especially
lot-
in this
yeah.
year, people are sending in messages, and some are asking. They say they like the trend of the conversation.
Yeah.
And they say that Aliyu is reaching us from Makadi in Benue State. He says he has experienced flood outside of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And he has heard, those are Nigerian, and he has heard of what happens here in Nigeria.
Yeah.
That from what he has seen and heard,
Yeah.
he prays it never happens again. So now everybody's hand. We just heard from Owens Packet that all Nigerians have a role to play, and it is everybody's hope and wish that it never. What happens last year and the years before never reoccur to the extent that they did. Now let's ask ourselves, what can we begin to do now to mitigate, avert, reduce what happened yesterday, the losses financially and otherwise?
See, if you are going to do it, like I told you before, it is those that are digging the grave that are ready to bury. All the other ones that are crying, they are just making noise.
Okay.
Yes.
But let's come and look at the political space in a way. Perhaps because there's a lot of campaigns going on, people are preparing for elections, we could not focus as much as we could on that last year. It is our hope that a lot more will be done at this time. We don't know exactly, because towards the end of your conversation, I would like you to give us a path with bullet points, 1, 2, 3, so that even everybody will comprehend where you're going and what role each of us, even as laymen and women, can perform. But when we're talking about politics, a lot has been happening last year, this year, and very soon we're going to the polls. It was this angle that Sule was looking at critically that he put this feature for us. Politics, campaigns, elections, where are we now? Sule, tell us more.
Many Nigerians look forward to this night with enthusiasm to welcome 2023. But despite the groove and excitement, their minds remain focused on the much anticipated event of the year.
2023, as you know, is an election year.
Many have described the 2023 general elections as the most critical in Nigeria's political history. It is interesting to note that there is increased consciousness among Nigerians to hear from the candidates at all levels about their policies and agenda, scrutinizing the candidates' promises to provide alternative solutions to the economic, social, and the complicated security challenges in the country.
We have seen youth unrest in the last 10-15 years. We have seen the effect of pandemics, in the last 10-15 years. And we've seen the generic effects of poverty on people in the last 10 and 15 years. And I hope that these experiences will energize Nigerians to open their eyes and then level up their decisions based on the manifestos, the submissions of the campaigns, and literally just hope for the best.
A surge of new voter registrations, especially among young people, suggests that Nigerians believe the 2023 elections are a process worth their time and energy. However, the recent attacks on offices of the Independent National Electoral Commission, which clearly aims to undermine the electoral process itself, is generating concerns given the history of political violence in the country.
If scientifically you go by what has been happening in the last possibly 10 years, look at Hash and SARS, how young people demonstrated and rioted, but not in the very violent way. They're in a very, very organized manner. They choose their spots. They use social media very, very effectively. They try to relate. That is an improvement on the behavior of the young in this country. Look at how we got managed during the COVID. Don't go out. You don't get people rioting, breaking things to say that, who are you, what are we going to eat? People listened. People wore masks. People tried not to gather when they said no gathering. The lockdown worked. So that to me is indicating that gradually we are maturing.
While voter apathy continues to be an issue in Nigeria's electoral process, some believe that the 2023 elections will be different, but efforts must be made to discourage vote buying, which significantly undermines the credibility of any election.
We have records since 1999 of all sorts of flavors of elections. People going to polling units to destroy everything and smash everything. People submitting reports just on papers, sharing votes anyhow. But I think the deployment and utilization of technology is improving things.
In a recent comment, a legal luminary, Chief Afe Babalola, was quoted to have said, "Any election conducted under the 1999 Constitution will merely result in recycling the same people who have brought Nigeria to grind and poverty, unemployment, underfunded education, insecurity, and huge external debt."
We have a constitution. Yes, it can be better. We should encourage it. We have certain things that we want to do. Yes, we want to do them better. We should encourage that. But I read that. I have respect for the senior advocate, but I think I differently share his view. I think at the level we are, we should be motivating the system to be better rather than firmly asking for drastic changes, otherwise don't kind of thing. It is not modern.
Despite the keen interest shown by the electorates to participate actively in the forthcoming election, about 6.7 million Nigerians are yet to collect their permanent voter card. A staggering number, but there are some reasons for optimism that the upcoming polls will be an improvement on the 2019 general election.
All these institutions should try as much as possible to understand that they have specific mandates, they have processes to execute their mandate, but most importantly, they should know that synergy and working together and partnership is the key to success. If you are part of the security, provide security. If it is the party politics is about a non-governmental organization, literally, where people have decided to come together to deceive or convince people that we are better than every other person. Do that to the best of your ability and leave the rest to God, as we used to say. The electorate, you must understand that anywhere you have 2 or 3 people contesting, only one can win. Whether it's your party or not your party, respect that thoughts and ensure that you do your best to ensure that your own wins. If your own loses, then know that that is also winning, because participation is also part of winning.
Expectations are high, and Nigerians will not only want to experience a free, fair and credible election, but also expect the next set of leaders reposition and fix the major challenges confronting the country.
Dr. Umar Bindi, an astute politician, and he said it so rightly there. Anything you're doing, do it well. Get your PVC well so you can use it. If you're campaigning, campaign well. Don't insult your brother, don't insult your sister. Say what you can do. We were talking with Air Vice Marshal Iyamo, and we talked about flooding and the environment. But let's just deviate a little bit. You have your PVC, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We just got some gist this morning from some of the dailies that in one state in northern part of Nigeria, over 11,000 PVCs haven't been collected. And I'm sure this situation is replicated in several other parts of the country. If we are clamoring for change in some areas, what does this foretell? How can we talk with one mouth and then people leave their PVCs uncollected in the other scenario? What will that? How can we factor these two together? What will be the outcome?
Well, if you are dealing with a problem, there must be your material aspect and there must be a systemic aspect. The material aspect, you have printed the PVC. The systemic aspect is that how does it get to these people? Look, we have a postal service here. What are they? Engage there. These people have house numbers. Let them distribute them. Look, see, we are advancing. I like what Mr. President said the other day. I've given you everything. We are advancing. So let's go for the top notch.
Think outside the box.
Think outside the box.
It done.
We cannot continue to shout every day that okay, no, they are there. They didn't come to pick it. Create initiatives.
Give it to them.
Create initiative. If they don't come to you, go to them. Go and give it to them. As it's done elsewhere in the world. See, we have moved. And let's move. Let everybody move. Let everybody be on deck.
Because when we're even listening to one of our features earlier, it says that everyone has a responsibility in Nigeria. Every patriot. So if the person who has his PVCs at home, maybe he's on the farm, maybe he's decided to sleep or travel, but you know how integral it is for him or her to get it, because they have taken the step to come and get registered. You should find a way.
Find a way to get it to them.
So we don't want to keep seeing 11,000, 5,000.
It's a moral burden on you now. Get it to them. If they don't come, get it to them.
And we did read from the president recently that he has equipped in every way INEC to be able to discharge their responsibilities, even in the most innovative and proactive ways. So it's our hope that they will get it done. Using every means, every legitimate means possible.
KSC, knowledge, skill, competence. That should rule now.
Interesting.
Yes, it should rule you. Okay, you can't continue to solve a problem with old solution and expect fundamental answers. It cannot work. You must have knowledge, you must create skill, and you must create competence in solving a problem. That's what the world runs on now.
And it behoves us to go the extra mile.
Extra mile.
Interesting. Messages have been coming in. And it happens that this one I'm about to take now is talking about the environment. Abbas reaches us from the Federal Capital Territory. It says all response agencies must start preparing now or Otherwise, the consequences will be damning. It says there will be distraction and it will not be in our best interest. It says the best strategy is early preparedness by all stakeholders. It says FCT FEMA has already kick-started its preparedness and strategic planning in an early effort to save the lives and property of the residents of the Federal Capital Territory. Good thing by the FCT. You can confirm that.
Well, you see, you don't prepare for flood inside the house.
Everybody, don't take that again.
You don't prepare for flooding inside the house. It is not a simulation exercise. You see it outside. You see it outside. Desensitization. You see, we're talking of giving data to the people now. What do you do in case of? First of all, the telephone line, the ITU. Now, the UN is helping everybody. Say, look, we want early warning system is very critical. Where are you going to when this flood ravage you? Where will you go to?
Hold that thought. That's so key, because many times we've heard people, they've been told this area is going to get flooded in a few.
So what?
They don't know where to go. We'll talk with the Air Vice Marshal. We're coming back. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Weekend Deal, and we're looking at expectations for 2023. We have talked about politics. We have also focused expansively on the environment, especially flooding, with the challenges we faced last year, loss of lives, millions and billions of naira lost in property, many still injured and suffering and challenged financially, loss to our GDP, loss to our economy. That is why Air Vice Marshal Iyamo is here, a renowned climate change expert and author, talking about riches in rubbish, and has authored many other write-ups, over 400, about the environment. He has spoken and he's still talking. Before the break, I asked you if it happens in an unfortunate situation, you're living in an area where we've been informed that you need to be proactive because water will come and the water will be damaging and you need to move. What happened?
Yes, that is why I told you stress test. Stress test, you see, every methodology across the world, they are all standard. But your environment is different. By the time you place the methodology on your environment, you see the gaps. You see the gaps. There's no methodology that will fit your environment. No, you must try and tweak it to go to your environment. The stress test, what is involved is where are you going to, and the means of communication. The first thing flooding does is to separate everybody. You separate everybody. Now, thank God that we have to leverage a lot of things. The Santiago network has provided a whole lot of things for us. The thing is that we have to reach out. Most of all the solutions are available. The ITU is telling you that, look, the radio phone that they provided in Nicaragua, they were there for people to contact each other. So if you're able to make contact during flooding, the whole problem is solved. Get most of this, because during flooding, because of your normal SMS, they all get jammed. They don't go. So a minute in flooding is very, very important to life.
So you did say that government should provide housing for those who need to relocate?
Well, you see, those are grandiose for now. The thing is that survival, when there is flooding, where do these people go to? You must look for a high ground. First of all, you must look for a high ground.
Save your life first.
Save your life ground. And you must also look for how you communicate with them. If they are cut off, how do you feed them? How are you going to bring a whole lot of this to them? That leads you must have priorities. You must have priorities. Now, your priority is that after the flood stage, which is receding of flood, what is your durable solution? Durable solution is how do you reintegrate these IDPs, or so-called
displaced people.
I don't want to call them IDPs. I just said the people of temporary movement that have gone there. Durable solution, you either return them in safety and dignity, reintegrate them into the environment, or create a new place for them altogether. How do you deal with the livestock? The livestock that have been killed, the farmland that have been decimated. There must be a timely, speedy, and voluminous response.
Intervention.
Because for livestock, it's different. It's not like the crops. Crops, you can bring it up in a year. But livestock, it needs time. And if that vacuum is created, you're not going to have anything. How do you deal with the disease? The last flooding compromised toilets, cemeteries, and all with pathogens. We don't know what this one is going to bring. So what are you going to do with it?
So tell us how to surmount this.
It's preparation. You see,
Test?
if you do your stress test, take it. You see, your national contingency plan should, well, the one we have for 2019 to 2021 is already gone now. You have to re-examine it because it is deficient. It is human centric because it has to substantially imbue in ranches, cracks, and everything. They were all destroyed during the flooding. So how are you going to deal with them now? Because those are essential parts of our lives. You have to introduce communication systems.
Let's take a few messages.
Yes.
Good talk, good discussion, great explanations and analysis, great concern. The only problem, the only challenge is, are those in authority listening? Are they listening? They should. Ali A. Shaba from Zaria. Weche from Abuja says, do we have any recycling plant in Nigeria? Someone is also asking about your book. Is your book, they want your book, they want to read it, they want to know how they can make riches out of waste. Good morning, I'm watching your program. I'm impressed with the wealth of knowledge from, he called you Dr. Iyamo. We did say Air Vice Marshal. He said, I'd like to get his book, Riches in the Rubbish. My name is Inkem Ogonem from Agbo in Delta State. Let me take one more message. Major factor that affects issues like this is bottom line. He said he's a poultry farmer. He would like to get all this advice that you are given, and he says sometimes when support comes from government, it doesn't get to the people. He says waste. He said this waste is affecting the country. The managers of the economy seem not to be as creative as they ought to be. They are not thinking outside the box. Johanna Ishaya from Kubwa. A lot of messages coming in. Do we have time for one more? I want the government to be proactive and take this issue about flooding very seriously. Vincent Zaka Ali from Jos. Wrap up. All this coming together. People want your book. People want your contact. They want to send it to us for us to send it to you.
Well, can you display it?
The book?
The contact.
The contact. Okay. Yeah. When they reach us through the number, we will send it to them. Yes.
No problem.
Riches in the rubbish. I know you must have been thinking far and wide when we put this
together. This is open defecation and the environment. The money to be made from what you call...
Nigeria is out of open defecation, right?
Yesterday. Yesterday.
You are one of a kind. Okay, interesting. Well, I'm sure we're working assiduously.
We're working, yes. You see, by now for open defecation, we should have a pilot system. CFCT Kubwa.
Riches in the rubbish, and take note, there's money beside it, but you need to work hard, you need to be innovative, you need to be ingenious, you need to be hands-on, and you need to get the book. Then open defecation and the environment, the risks and the hazard. Air Vice Marshal Akugbe Iyamu. Vast knowledge. Let's wrap up, Air Vice Marshal.
Sorry.
Your expectations. Now you have shared all of this with us. What are you urging those who are the helm to take note of in terms of priorities so that we don't have a repeat experience of what happened in 2022?
Yes. I was so excited a couple of days ago when the president put up the 890.5 billion to intervene in the flooding. Very, very exciting. So that one, should go into infrastructural reform. They should go to disclosure. Disclosure now. Most countries outside Nigeria will not invest in a country that they don't have disclosure. Disclosure is just like you as a customer to a bank telling them that, look, I have this, I have this, I have this. So the same way they expect countries to audit themselves and tell them, look, I am flood prone. So everybody is looking at that. Then essentially, the stress tests, we must conduct, the moment we get to the flood stage, there must be a stress test. A stress test has, see, if you are preparing if you are fighting climate change, you are making the environment healthy, and at the same time there's already an economic value in it. The World Trade Organization is telling you that, look, you cannot solve the problem of flooding without exporting your environmental goods and services. We have a lot of it. We have the largest mangrove in Africa, in Cross River State. So we should go back now. Now the WTO again to just disbursed 48.7 billion US dollars, and 30% of it went to climate change and things like this. You got durable loss and damages from COP27. That's what's loss and damage.
So we can avail ourselves of.
You can
some
avail,
of this
but it's in view.
It's in view.
It's in view. And loss and damage, what does it mean? If you check the Chatham House definition, you say normally the devastating consequence of climate change that cannot be avoided by mitigation and adaptation. So
tell us in layman's terms, is this fund available for Nigeria to utilize?
Well, they've told you that the first coordinating meeting will meet in March, and they will decide on it by COP28.
Are you asking Nigeria to wait till March before they begin to be proactive?
Why would you wait? You see, there is a momentum now. You see, the WTO, all the financial institutions.
About priorities.
Yeah, the priorities now. Your own money, the money that Mr. President is talking about is. Look, I was so happy that it's coming.
So we should use that.
Yeah, the flood
That's
stage.
available for us to use.
Yes.
And we must conduct our stress test.
Yes.
We must let you go now. Air Vice Marshal Akugbe Iyamu, a renowned climate change expert and author worthy of note, and he researches expansively and continuously. That's how he can inform us to the extent that he has done so far on the program today. We are watching, we are listening. It's our hope that those who need to will take necessary steps.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're watching Weekend Deal. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Don't go away. Weekend Deal. You're watching Weekend Deal. We'll take a few of your messages. We thank you for sending them in. Generous Olayemi reaches us from Kaduna. It says, let's look into Afe Babalola's quote. That's a senior advocate of Nigeria, and he's in his 90s. Is there anything we can do as a nation to change that reality from our subsequent experience? It says, because one major challenge is that when we discover a problem or a challenge, little or nothing is done about it. Glenn Eyeye from Warri, Delta State says, thanks for this informative program. I enjoyed it. I hope all the stakeholders involved are listening and are ready to implement before it's too late. Glenn wants the information on how to get the book Riches in Rubbish. We get this message from Zaria, Lukman from Zaria. He says he enjoyed the package, especially talking about expectations for 2023. But on his own part, he's been trying to collect his PVC for the past 1 week, but was told that only 20 names would be attended to per day. It's going to change. Don't give up. Make sure you do all it takes to get your PVC, because everybody who wants to get their PVC, we're very sure will get it. Abubakar Arigi is reaching us. Didn't tell us where he's reaching us from. He says, let NGOs who want to help the masses procure books to sensitize them and empower them to buy the required equipment. Okay, perhaps I'd like NGOs to help get the book, like Rubbish to Riches. Okay, someone's asking for the contact of our guest. The producer will attend to that. Stephen Ogbekene from Delta State said, your discussion is rich, and we pray that those in authority will take note. You didn't tell us who you are reaching us from, but you say that the Grassroots Network Initiative will take care of information dissemination from the household to the street head to the councillor. So the federal government can take over local government elections, and then they will ensure that every councillor who is holding a position is ready to make a big difference. Umoru Sani says he's enjoying the program. He learned a lot from the conversation, and he believes that these issues, if they are properly addressed as and at when due, which is now, that there will be a great improvement when the waters, when the flood, when the rainfall comes this year. You are watching Weekend Deal. As we delve into 2023, think not of what your country will do for you. Instead, focus this year. How can I make a difference where I work? How can I make a difference where I live? How can I make a difference in my life such that other lives will be impacted? And the cycle of goodness, tenacity, hard work, resilience, growth and development will continue to go round and round. And of course, you get your PVC and you stand it on the ready to cast your vote whenever required, which is in the nearest possible future. Tomorrow, our program continues. We'll be talking more about expectations of 2023, the stock of power, the CBN monetary policy. What are you doing with your new Naira notes? And lots more. You just need to join us bright and early at the top of the hour, which is 7 a.m. From all of us here, it's have a fantastic day. Make sure it's productive. See you again tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thank you.